What is up, everyone? JD here. Hope you're doing well today. We're going to be doing my full overview of the Kizer Drop Bear Premium Edition. Let's get into it. First, I want to give a shout out to Lefty EDC. Thank you, my brother, for passing this one around for us to take a look at. I have seen both variants of the budget-friendly Kizer Drop Bear, and I've seen the LMAX variant, but I have not seen the 20CV variant. What we're going to be doing today is just some size comparisons, profile, and then we'll weigh the knife out. And then I just want to kind of talk about some of the things on this knife as far as an overview goes. I won't be doing any disassembly. I will link at some point during the review video, so be on the lookout for that in the top right hand corner, where I have done the 154 cm where I took it apart. I adjusted the clutch lock, so you have that as a point of reference. This isn't my knife, so I don't want to disassemble it. I'm just going to go ahead and do the overview. Let's go ahead and do some quick size comparisons. Here it is against the recently released Civivi Vision FG, which you can see this is more of a medium-sized knife, and I actually have the Demco 80 20.5 out here because this is one that I also consider medium size, and you can see the drop bear is just a tiny bit smaller overall in length. Let me go ahead and move the FG out of the way. We're going to bring out a couple of crossbar locks to take a look at with this one. So another medium sized knife that I really like to use for a comparison is actually going to be my Benchmade Bug Out. This one here I also consider a medium sized knife, and you can see the Kizer Drop Bear is like in that medium category, and then against the Tactile Maverick, a couple of crossbar locks that I really like. Some of the differences that you're going to notice though is that the Kizer Drop Bear clutch lock feels a little bit better done than the outdated crossbar lock that you have here or access lock that you have from Benchmade. And this is on phosphor bronze washers, and it takes a while to get these to break in and be drop shutty and not have that blade play. And in some instances, the washer thickness may mean that if you want it to be drop shut, that you may not be able to get rid of that play. But one thing that I noticed that really helps with these is actually aluminum or titanium scales. Let me go ahead and move the Maverick out of the way as well. This one's still breaking in. You can see there, you got to give it a little bit more wrist in order to get that to close. But let's do some profile comparison and then we'll weigh the drop bear. One of the things that's interesting about this, even though it is smaller than some of these other knives, it does have a little bit more girth to it, and that thickness does help it fill out the hand a little bit better. So I'm going to compare it against these two thinner knives here, and then I am going to bring out the budget comparison that we had against the Civivi FG, and you can see these are more similar in thickness. So I like that they went that route. It does really help with the ergos in the hand, so I do like that they have that on this drop bear, and I've said that consistently throughout the reviews. Let's check to see if there's any difference in weight. So this one coming in at 3.5 ounces, not pretty much unusual or pretty much the norm for what you see in this realm for this type of knife from Kizer, Civivi, Sencut, just pretty much what you normally see. So one of the things I did want to touch on, the LMAX had, I think it was the Arctic Storm, editor will correct me if I say that wrong, but I like the toxic fat carbon scales that they put on here. Nice, thick. You can see the layers on it. The liners continue to stay proud on this, so it does feel nice in hand. You don't have any rough spots because they chamfer them separately from the scales. You have a nice fold over titanium pocket clip. Really like this style pocket clip. Goes in and out of the pocket really nicely. Has a good catch clearance on it, and it has good retention on it. So good spring retention, not the best, not the worst, but it does a good job keeping the knife in the pocket, and that's all you can ask for. It lets it ride nice and deep in the pocket as well. It looks like there's a space for a lanyard here. Yep, right there. I was looking for the bead. So you have your lanyard hole, you have your drilled out holes flush for this to go left-handed, which is great because this is a ambidextrous lock for sure. The lock itself, I believe, man, I need my flashlight. I can't see too good in here, and I hope this isn't too bright. I think this is okay. Yeah, this one here has the 5-hole mechanism, and I've seen on some of the more recent models they've gone to the 3-hole, which is plenty of adjustment. I really don't think too many people are going to want to go with the weakest setting for these because the knife can just pop out. And see this one here, I'd probably say this is on the medium detent. You really have to gas it to get it to want to break loose, but just, if you're running with your knife in your pocket, not going to fall out. No issues whatsoever. And the detent feels really good on this as well. And that's one of the things that I think Kizer has done superbly well with the clutch lock. And not too many people talk about it, but so has tactile. So this feels really good compared to the stock springs that come on the Benchmade bug out. But when you upgrade to the aftermarket springs, these feel very similar. So I think it's just being able to tune it and then coming with proper tension on the spring really helps both of these feel really nice. And of course, this is nice and broken in. I've had that for a few years now, and it's just cleaning it, smoothing the bearings out, the washers, not the bearings, sorry, really makes a difference here. Now, these are some of my favorite thumb studs. I like these almost as much as my Benchmade thumb studs, and I actually like them more than my Maverick thumb studs. They are really well done. The clutch lock studs remind me of the Benchmade, a little bit smaller in diameter, which makes sense. It's a little bit of a smaller knife, but very easy to actuate and has some great sounds. Yeah, just wonderful sounds. I really do like the sounds on this. Ergonomically, this is super comfortable knife. 3.5 fingers, 3/3 quarter. For me, a little small. I wish it was a little bit bigger, but I get it. They have the Escort, which is a different style knife, but I think a large variant of the drop bear would have been right up my alley for me. A little bit bigger of a carry, and I would like to see them with the aluminum scales that they've been doing here recently on some of their older models that they're refreshing with the aluminum, and you're seeing them from Sincut and Civivi as well. I like aluminum scales because they feel a little bit more premium, and they do a good job with that coating, so it has some tackiness to it without being overtly aggressive, and you don't have to worry about it kind of sawing away at your pants. But having said that, the Toxic looks really good. They did a good job with it. I mean, it comes from fat carbon, and it's random patterns, just the way that everything kind of comes together, but they finished it really well. There's no sharp edges. If this was my knife, I would probably go ahead and take a little bit of mineral oil to it, and that would help shine it up a little bit, but it doesn't look bad. I think it looks really good. And honestly, in the pictures and in these videos, I wasn't too sure about it, but getting it in person, it's a really fun color without being too loud and in your face, which is what I was kind of worried about because they brighten up those pictures so much that it makes everything kind of pop off. And in reality, the colors are very muted and it looks way better in person. Kizer does a phenomenal. Kizer and Civivi's black wash blades are really well done. They do a good job. You got nice wear marks here from the wash, nice stone where it's faded. It doesn't look like just your plain DLC, and I apologize, my other vision is in the case, but that has just a plain DLC, and I'm debating doing a black wash because I did it on my Kizer drop bear that had the DLC. And the 3V variant, it came out really nice. And I just like the way this looks, has a nice feel to it. The edge on here, because it's been passed around, I don't know what I did with my, is this all that I have left? Wow, I don't have much to test it on. I'm gonna have to get some more scrap paper up here. It's downstairs. Um, it's not bad, but it's been passed around in the group. So, all this demonstrate is how sharp the factory edge comes. So it's not factory fresh, so I wouldn't worry about that. But I did just take it. I was breaking down some cardboard, and I just took it through the cardboard to see, and it's very thin and slicey. It passes through the cardboard material very nicely, which lets me know, like the other drop bears, this is going to go through the materials really good. I love this type of drop point. It's almost a spear point. And actually, I would give a pass for anyone that says it is a spear point. I wouldn't argue with that. A little bit uneven, more drop here than you have belly coming up, but That's what I like about this type of drop point is you get really good articulation to get into packages, to do detailed work if you need to be up, coming down through the cut. Very nice. They did a fantastic job with this jimping. I love that they carried it all the way out. So if you have smaller hands or you don't want to be too close to the tip, depending on what you're working on, or if you need that leverage out on the tip and you're working in a very tight space, like getting into a package that's taped very tightly, this is going to do a really good job. This continues to be one of my favorite Kizer models. There's a couple out there that I really like. I still think, for me, the Sheepdog. I love the Sheepdog. It has character. And I have one here that has this clutch lock on it. Spoiler, wow. But I'm going to save that for the review, so you're going to have to come back to see what I think about that one. Now, one thing that I wanted to touch on, this comes in at just under $200. You're getting 20 CV, steel liners. I think it's steel liners. Let me double check that. Yeah, steel liners. Gives it rigidity. Not a problem at all. Good for the bearings to ride on those hardened steel liners if they're hardened. And, everything is going to be tough and durable. But then you have that fat carbon on top, which is also very strong material. It can scratch, just like aluminum, G10, all of it can scratch, right? You can scratch any of it if you really try your hardest. I think this gives it a really nice look. You're getting good materials. The heat treat, I looked it up. What I'm seeing is 59 to 61. With this black wash blade, you can bank that this is probably closer to the 60 side, like 59, 60, probably 60. The way that the edge seems like it's held up based on the number of people that have seen it before me, it's not awful. It has a couple of little spots on it, but if they tested it on cardboard as well, then that's what's going to cause the issue. But this functions very well. It's been very consistent with each model that I've checked out, which I'm on my fourth. This is the fourth different variant that I've checked out with this, and they all have the same consistency with their action, the centering, play, everything's locked up nice and solid, which you get to do with ceramic bearings, which will be a little bit more prone to grittiness if you're, cutting stuff that dust up and has a lot more debris that comes into the pivot. They potentially can gum up a little bit more quickly than your phosphor bond washer knives that take longer to break in, but these come out of the box really nice. And the detent, again, very, very well tuned, and I like that a lot. For $200, I think it's okay value. The reason I say okay is because you have something like the Migaron Kyric 2, which has M390, about the same heat treat. It's a little bit bigger, but I would still constitute it as a medium knife. And you're getting titanium scales and a titanium pocket clip. Both of these knives have steel hardware, and I think for that money, I would probably say you get a little bit more bang from your buck from Migaron. The edges are comparable. The build qualities feel very similar. They feel, comparable for sure. And then I also wanted to bring out that you can actually get a Taiwan made knife from Demco with S35 in, which is not going to be as desirable as your 20 CV and M390, but I feel like the heat treat at the Taiwan plant for the S35 is done at a better heat treat and a better range. So you're going to see a really good performance out of S35 It's going to have really good edge retention. It's going to be tough and corrosive resistant, but if the heat treat is on the higher side of 20 CV or M390, it's obviously going to hold that edge longer. It's not going to be as prone to chippiness. And I do like the Demco because you do have the shark lock. Now, I will say the detent on here is a little bit more mushy. And better springs back here isn't really going to fix that. What's going to fix that is revising this lock mechanism here. The way that they kind of do it, it's like a little finger that cuts over into that. They would just need to steepen that angle on that a little bit to make that feel a little bit more tough to open or overcome to get out. But the reality is, the clutch lock and the, shark lock from Demco, they're all going to be kind of the same as far as you can overcome them if you want to. If you hit it hard enough, you can overcome them. I've never had any issues with my shark lock, but this one coming from Taiwan, if you don't want to buy a Chinese made knife, and it's not as desirable overall as material wise, but you do have a lot of aftermarket options with this one, and it's coming usually around 230 bucks, and you can find some sales, so you can probably get these really close to around 200, which I think is good value for money from where it's being built. I like the blade shape on this one a little bit better. Ergonomically, I will actually give that to the drop bear because of its chunky nature, but because I have more space on here, I actually can get all four fingers just barely onto this knife. And again, aftermarket support out there is phenomenal for these. I really do like them a lot, and they also ride on bearings, so they're very comparable. But I just wanted to give a couple of alternative recommendations. I really like the Migron because you get this milled titanium on here. You get a really nice looking profile, and it does seem very classy for the money. Now, if this was 175, I would actually say this is the better value. You save $25. You get a well done knife, just all the way well done. Everything that comes with it checks all the boxes for me, and I think it's a good knife. I think the better value is the aluminum in 154 cm, but they also do have, if you don't feel like that's worth the price of admission, because I think that's around $100-ish. Editor, please throw that up there for me. But the micarta variant with the 154 cm is more in that normal price point, like that $50 to $70 range. So they do have something a little bit more affordable, and their micarta is usually done pretty well. So do like the knife. Let me know what you think about the drop bear as a knife as a whole. But do you think this version is worth it, getting the fat carbon and the more sexy steels, as it were, down in the comments below? I'd love to hear that from you. Shout out to everyone out there that leaves the likes, the comments, and is subscribed. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.